Over the years, we have spent a considerable amount of time in Vancouver, and these are some of our impressions of the city. One of our favourite activities was going flying, and more always ensured that the aircraft was ready for the flight. I did the walk around and checked all the mechanical parts of the aircraft, changed the propeller for nicks while prospective passengers looked on. Then it was a good idea to check the flight details and route. Some VIP passengers we had from time to time, in this case my mother and Maura's mother. Before leaving, it was time to fuel up the aircraft. These aircraft carried the fuel in tanks in the wing. And then we were ready for the off. Having got taxi clearance from ground control, we taxied out to the holding area short of the runway, where we waited for clearance to go into the runway and take off in sequence. After takeoff, our route to the city took us over the suburbs, and then over branches of the Fraser River making up the Fraser Delta. Then on to the city. Over the years, Vancouver has changed considerably. Notice the wide strip of undeveloped land along the waterfront to the left of the picture that has all since been developed. Flying on and looking back as we flew up the harbour, we could see ships anchored in English Bay waiting to go into the harbour to load their cargo. English Bay is a popular venue for sailing, and there are nice beaches on each side of the bay. Sometime later, the area along the waterfront was developed into a park. When finished, this park was an attractive area between Stanley Park and the city. Stanley Park is a 1,000-acre park with a seawall running all the way around a distance of approximately 6 miles. Meanwhile, the area between the new park and the city was developed with attractive high-rise residential towers. This is the main street leading from the city to the North Shore and is called George's Street, and it continues on through Stanley Park and over Lionsgate Bridge to the North Shore. This is the view of the waterfront as it is now. We are currently living in the green-coloured building right in the centre of the picture. This is looking up what is called Cole Harbour towards the city, with the cruise ship terminal and the convention centre on the left of the picture. The new car park mentioned previously is on the right. Because we are confined here in Vancouver because of the virus, we decided to get a nice apartment with a view. We're on the 18th floor of the high-rise building with a view looking out over the harbour and the North Shore Mountains. There's an attractive marina in the view and also a cycle and walkway along the waterfront, which is a continuation of the seawall around Stanley Park and continues in the other direction through the city. Most of the watercraft in the marina are privately owned, but some of them are for charter, such as this one, Kojo, K-O-J-O. You could look it up on Google. This fancy yacht called the Nova Spirit is owned by a local businessman. After being away for a weekend cruise, it is nice to see how the crew put out the red carpet for the guests to disembark. The waterfront walkway is divided for pedestrians and cyclists. It's nice to see how they usually obey the rules so to avoid conflict. There are several attractive floating homes in amongst the yachts in the marina. Interesting designs. This is another commercial ketch-rigged yacht which docks in the marina and does charters. The harbour is always busy with small craft and ships moving in and out. The cargo ships move into the harbour in preparation for going to the dock to load. While they wait, they sometimes open their hatches to air them out. There is a gas barge in the harbour for the yachts to fuel up. It is always busy, and besides selling gas, there is also a small coffee shop on the barge. Around the harbour there are docks for various products. The docks in the centre of this picture is loading sulphur, a byproduct of the gas industry, which is shipped from Alberta by rail and then shipped to Asia and South America to be used as fertilizer. The marine traffic consists of ships coming in to load. This ship is sailing in ballast, so is riding high in the water. These are called bulk carriers and usually carry only one type of product at a time and to go to one port for discharge. When loaded, the ships sail out again to a wide variety of destinations worldwide. Canada has a resource-based economy, and these are the resources sailing out. Meanwhile, container ships sail in and out, mainly from China, bringing all sorts of consumer products that people crave. This is a car carrier ship, and having arrived from Taiwan with cars, it then loads with packaged lumber to take to another port. As I said previously, the harbour has an abundance of float plane traffic, and this is one of the float planes flying past our window as it approaches to land. All the aviation traffic is controlled by air traffic control. The dock for the float planes is in the harbour, right at the centre of the city. Having taken off from the harbour, the float planes fly off to their destination. Rowing is a very popular pastime in Coal Harbour, and people practice from early morning till late evening. The Vancouver Boating Club was formed in 1886, and its first clubhouse was built a year later. Coal Harbour, so named because early settlers found coal here, became the scene of many colourful rowing regattas, and on April 1st, 1899, the name was changed to the Vancouver Rowing Club. The present Heritage Building was officially opened in September the 9th, 1911. With rising sea levels, it was found that over the years, the lower part of the building was sometimes underwater during high tide, and at about the same time it was found that the piles needed to be replaced. To allow the work to be done, the whole building was jacked up, and having worked on the piles, additional spacers were installed to raise the building above high water. A very effective solution. Another feature of the harbour is what is called the 9 o'clock gun. Seen here, immediately after firing, it fires at 9 p.m. each day. As shown here, the gun was cast in 1816 and had an interesting history before ending up in this location. Over the years, the gun has been subject to various forms of abuse. It has been struck by lightning, plugged with rocks, short-circuited, silenced by a work stoppage, and even briefly stolen. But Vancouver's famed 9 o'clock gun has, as faithfully as circumstances would allow, boomed out the time from its home in Stanley Park for 107 years. Over the years, cycle and walking tracks have been built all along the foreshore of the harbour and the bays, so it's possible to cycle or walk for many miles without having to encounter vehicle traffic. This is the cycle track today with the Lionsgate Bridge to the North Shore in the background. During the winter, there's snow on the North Shore mountains, allowing the ski areas to operate. One time there were black swans from Western Australia on the lake, and they nested during the winter, which was hardly ideal. Spring is a pleasant time in Vancouver when an abundance of blooms appear. First, the cherry blossoms come out, making a very pretty sight. Then there are tulips and roses. Here a bee approaches a fuchsia to get his supply of nectar. As the weather improves, birds start building their nests. Here a swan has laid her eggs and is busy hatching them. Soon she's a proud parent taking care of her young. Pufflehead ducks arrive to spend this summer here, while cormorants dry their wings in the wind. Nearby, swallows build their nests under the eaves of the buildings, and the young wait for the parents to return with food. The parents are kept busy getting food and feeding the young. Flying over the North Shore, one quickly comes to snow-capped mountains, attractive frozen lakes in the valleys. The topography of British Columbia is very rugged, with mountains continuing north for thousands of miles. These mountains are what is known as the coastal range and continue all the way up to Alaska. Flying on through the mountains, one can see how the glaciers have been retreating over the years. After a flying trip, it's nice to come back to one's home airport flying over English Bay as the sun sets, over log booms waiting to be towed into the local sawmills. Then as the sun sets over a ship at anchor in English Bay, I think that's enough, otherwise I might go on forever.